No, I'm telling them, I found infinite DP glitch.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. What? Oh, wait, no, I got confused. I thought the SV said the DP.
No, it's not. Just look at the DP bar. Look at it go.
Is she generating DP?
Of course she is. Look at her go. I've never seen so much DP in my life, Jebo.
So she only gets one DP. It's just
Well,
one DP.
only one.
This is
How?
no,
No. Look at her go. Vulpisfoglia is the newest pioneer vanguard in the game, and even though she's the 4th iteration of a 6-star in this archetype, her kit still manages to set itself apart from all the other ones. And right from the get-go we can see why when you look at her first skill. Light Punishment is what it's called, and apart from being what I want from her, this is also a very basic skill. Basically, Vulpis can store up to 3 charges that are automatically used when an enemy enters her range. When that happens, she deals an additional 290% of attack as arts damage and generates an insane 1 DP. The 3 charge combined with a very cheap 4 SP cost means that she can spam this skill, and from that we can pretty much get the full picture here. S1 is a Vanguard lane holding skill that both generates DP and kills fodder. And I'm emphasizing that it's a Vanguard lane holding skill because you're not supposed to use this to clear huge waves of enemies. These skills usually sacrifice damage for more utility and the ability to gen DP, so you're not gonna compare this with something like Marcial's skill 2, even if S1 is actually strong enough to handle some elite enemies. And this is actually what sets this S1 apart from the other 6 stars in her archetype. Siege, Saga and Flametail all have a generic TP gen skill with a very long cooldown. Well, I guess Flametail's is a bit more unique, it's just that it's, you know, not that useful. The skill this one resembles the most is actually Bagpipe skill 2, and if you were to compare the two, Vulpis is generally gonna come out on top. The biggest reason for that is actually not inside the skills, but rather because of their archetypes. Bagpipe can only block one enemy on S2, so she's more susceptible to leaking. Vulpisfoglia on the other hand can block 2, which gives her a big advantage. But there are other factors to consider, like her talent one. What it does is make so Vulpis deals additional arts damage to enemies. Basically, when she hits an enemy for the first time, they'll get this mark. It lasts for 10 seconds, and until it vanishes, every attack she performs on them will additionally deal 30% of her attack as arts damage. That way her damage doesn't completely plummet when she has no charges. It's obviously not as much damage as with the skill, but it's not insignificant. Especially if it leads you to being able to save an S1 charge for the next enemy. Compared to Bagpipe's crit talent, this is a big upgrade since there's no RNG, so you don't need to mull a 33% chance and you'll always get a consistent result. Vulpis wins until you start to get to elite enemies, but even then it depends. These artillery cars only have 10 res, so she just shreds them, and because they have 1.5k defense, that means Bagpipe can do shit to them. But when you're up against elites like these guys who have 60 res, then you'll see Bagpipe winning. So it's a case by case basis here. But in the context of a stage with multiple waves that mix and match elite enemies and trash mobs, Vulpis will be the best option overall. As for how good this skill is, it's one of the better Vanguard and holding skills. That's because of the arts damage and very low SP cost. It allows Vulpis to deal with trash mobs and elite enemies better than something like Siege skill 2. It is true that Siege is better AoE, but that aspect of her S2 has already been power cracked before, so at least Vulpisfoglia has something unique to her. The one I'm referring to is of course Saga and her S2, because not only has an AoE effect, but Saga also provides SP to both herself and other operators in your team. Not to mention the fact that she can actually deal damage. In fact, Saga S2 can even rival Vulpis S1 in damage up to a point. But that changes when you start to get to stronger enemies with lower res, especially if you don't have trash mobs to feed Saga since her skill costs so much. So this is a very useful skill to have if you want to lean more into single target damage but still have some of the Vanguard utility she gives.
Reason. Who's her artist? Is it the same thing as Suzerain?
I don't know.
check it. What do you mean?
I mean, later.
What are you doing?
What?
What are you doing?
And that brings us to skill 2, Vulpisfoglia's crowd control / support skill. Bladeful Torture is both its name and also another thing I wish she'll do to me. This skill is a bit more complex than S1, but still fairly simple overall. Basically, when you activate S2, she'll get 7 DP, deal 300% of her attack as arts damage to up to 6 enemies in her range, and apply slow to them for 5 seconds. Or, if they're already slowed, then she will stun them instead. So her best partner for this skill is someone who constantly applies slow, like Suzerain, who can do that multi-target consistently on her S2, or do it for a very long time on S3. Just don't make the mistake of thinking that minus movement speed means slow. These are two different things, meaning that operators like Mostima can't trigger the condition of S2. So with this skill you get to use mother and daughter together to synergize both of their kits. There's just one problem though. This skill sucks. Let's start with the condition to stun. Why does it need enemies to be slowed? I mean, I know why, but why does it not give her extra damage? Not only would it fit her kit more, since as we saw on her S1 and we'll soon see on her S3 she's a very offensive focused character, but also because it would synergize with Suzerain's Fragile more, kinda like what Tubite already does. So having the bonus be a stun is a very weird design choice, especially for how weak the rest of this skill is. And that's not even the worst part. I didn't mention this until now, but this skill costs fucking 20 SP. You have to wait 20 seconds for this. That's much more expensive than Saga's 2, which is much better skill that provides a lot more to your team and even feeds SP back to itself. You can store 2 charges on Vulpes S2, which helps a little bit, but it still doesn't make up for the 20 SP cost. If we compare it again to Saga S2, that costs 13 SP and it can store 3 charges. So really there's no reason to use Vulpes S2 ever. There is one great thing that's not S2 we're gonna talk about though, and that's her talent 2. It does 2 things. The first is increase your natural DP generation by 10%, which is honestly negligible. I put it on screen right now a comparison of 2 DP bars, the left one with Vulpisfoglia deployed and the right one without her, and as you can see the DP difference is extremely low. So this is more of a nice bonus rather than something impactful. What is impactful though is the second part of the talent. It makes so when Vulpisfoglia doesn't take damage for 4 seconds, she will continuously restore 4% of her max HP per second until she takes damage. That's a very strong survivability option that allows her to run without medics. It's basically Thorn's talent, but it ties to her taking damage instead of attacking, and it works amazingly if you want to have her solo or dual lane, allowing you to reallocate your medics elsewhere in a lot of cases. It also has a very strong synergy with S3, but I'll talk about it on the next section. So overall this is a very strong talent to make up for a pretty weak skill. It's cool she even has a synergy with Suzerain at all, but it could have been better, so if you're planning on building her, you can just ignore this skill to be honest.
Tanti negoziati, e poi finiamo per lasciar parlare le nostre lame.
And she's solo. No, I don't want to do that.
What?
I want to say solo Patriot.
What?
Not for the Patriot.
What is wrong with you? No.
That doesn't even make
Let's
sense.
No, let's go right now.
Bagpipe skin is.
Che posto meraviglioso.
Of course. There you go.
La strada per l'inferno.
There you go. Are you satisfied now, Nemo?
No, I'm not. This is stupid. Stop. Wait, oh wait, no. Oh yeah, good up time. Let's do it again, right?
It's true. Oh. Don't. He's got it. Up.
Yeah, here you go. Hit it now, hit it now.
Hit
it now.
Up.
Hit
Now.
now.
Hey.
You know, that might have worked if you used the mine.
And with that, we finally get to Vulpes' final skill, Volpombra Technique.
Tanti odio e rancore son da scattare, salvo in un'esplosione di rosso autunnale.
And for as wordy as this skill is, the concept here is very simple. First, she'll generate 9 DP when S3 is used, which is the most amount of DP out of any one of her skills. Then Vulpes will get +1 range, plus 110% attack and 108 attack speed, with the bonus attack speed gradually decreasing until it goes back to normal. Her target count is increased to be the same as her block count, all of her attacks will stun her targets for 0.2 seconds. And finally, if she kills any enemy during S3, she'll get Camouflage that lasts indefinitely until you activate skill 3 again. There. Very simple, right? All jokes aside, her S3 can be summarized very simply. Vulpes generates 9 DP, gets a shit ton of buzz, and if she kills someone with S3, she'll get Camouflage when it ends. And if you recall both of her talents, you'll see they work amazingly with S3. First, there's her Arts Mark. Unlike her other two skills, all the damage from S3 is physical damage, so with talent 1 she'll be able to deal both physical and arts damage. This is a good thing in her case because she's a Pioneer Vanguard. All other operators in this archetype only deal physical damage, so whenever they're up against high defense enemies, their damage plummets. Vulpes, on the other hand, can deal with both these high defense enemies
Tanti negozi. Odio e rancore son da scattare, salvo in un'esplosione di rosso autunno.
and the same high-res enemies that gave her trouble before.
Perlomeno prova a scalfirmi il suo capo.
But the synergy with Talent 2 is even bigger because of the camouflage, since it both makes it a lot harder for enemies to hit her and a lot easier for her to trigger the talent's condition and start healing. Another great thing is the skill cycle. Comparing Vulpes S3 with Saga or Siege S3, the difference is night and day. A huge issue with Saga S3 is that it costs 40 SP and lasts 20 seconds. So if you're using it to lane hold, you have a lot of downtime, which is actually a problem that Siege S3 doesn't have since it cycles so well, only costing 30 SP and lasting for 25 seconds. But Vulpes takes that even further, with S3 only costing 18 SP and lasting 10 seconds, so cycling really is a non-issue for her. There is one issue you might face though, and that is actually her damage.
Letale è la danza della dama elegante. Di rosso si tinge il fiore sottostante.
Because S3 lasts for such a short period, her damage also drops off a cliff really fast. Combine that with the fact that Talent 1's mark only lasts for 10 seconds, and that means Vulpes will have no failsafe to handle what S3 can't kill. More than anything, her S3 revolves around interactions, meaning that when you activate this skill, what's in front of her needs to die. That is true for any damage dealing operator, of course, but in her case that's even more of a requirement because of her archetype. If I use a guard, the only thing they need to do is kill stuff. That's it. A lot of times you don't even need to use their skill to kill enemies, and when you do, unless it's a boss, you usually kill anything with room to spare. Pioneers though are the middle ground between lane holding and utility. You can't usually save their skills even against weak elites, since they don't have the stats to handle them on their own. You also don't really want to save their skills because that means no extra DP. Vulpes though is the most offensive focused Pioneer we have. Her skills don't give that much DP, but to compensate for that she's a lot more capable when it comes to killing. That's why it's important you ensure she's able to do just that. And this is how we get to her module. It changes her mark talent to do 40% of her attack instead of 30%, as well as improve her trait to give her plus 8% attack when she blocks something. Those might look like small buffs, but with how many times she attacks it does end up mattering, especially if it makes her have an easier time killing stuff. And that's also the reason why she really loves buffers. Since she has an attack speed buff already inside her kit, it's very easy to help her. All she needs is some extra attack and you'll see S3 popping off. And since she'll usually be lane holding, the best skill you can use is of course Scouter skill 2, but you're not limited to that. Here's my U1 Sora doing just fine as an example.
Perlomeno prova a scalfirmi il suo capito.
You can also use some specialized buffers like Zimas too.
Tanti negozi. Odio e rancore son da scattare, salvo in un'esplosione di rosso.
To be clear, she doesn't need a buffer to perform well. She can handle some tough enemies like the Chapter 5 Ice Cleavers alone.
Letale è la danza della dama elegante. Di rosso si tinge il fiore sottostante.
But it's nice to have them as a backup to push her performance even further. And this is Vulpisfoglia. She's a very comfortable vanguard to use and her kit blends both offense and utility really well. She has actually been mentioned in the story ever since Suzerain's release if I recall correctly. So it's nice to finally have her as a playable character. And given how many people like Suzerain, I'm sure Vulpis will be popular too. Her kit is mostly very well designed and very flavorful and she really looks like she would kill me if I ask her to, which is always a bonus in my book. So I can safely recommend that you level Vulpis if you manage to get her. That's all just my opinion though, so comment what you think of her. Make sure to subscribe and leave a like too while you're at it, and if you wanna know how I rank her compared to other future ops, go watch this video. That's it then. Bye.
Non c'è nulla da ripulire. Andiamo.